Hello and welcome to Stage 2 of the Spanish Grand Prix at Circuit de Catalunya. I am driving my Mercedes, and if you haven't seen Stage 1, I picked a car that was pretty close to being maxed out without quite being there because I don't want to waste my driver XP or really my principal XP, and this is going to be an expensive event because the PR requirements are higher than any other Grand Prix that we've had. Now, this is an average speed race, and if you're having trouble, you could aggressively cut this right here. So I was a little bit, actually that might have been okay. That might have been legally allowed as far as Real Racing 3 is concerned. I'm not talking about what the marshals in Formula 1 would allow or the different officials. I'm just talking about in this game because that's what we have to be concerned about. So here I've got more PR than what is required because I'm starting with a car that has driver level 7 and principal level, well, it's 2 from full, so maybe that's 10, maybe that's 11, but I'm 2 from having a full principal. And I've got no tuning so far, but I'm probably I'll definitely have to buy some at some point in order to keep on racing. So obviously the average speed requirement here is not difficult at this PR level. Now, a lot of these corners like that's no trouble, flat out. I'm not so sure about this corner yet. I'm not quite sure about my braking point. But it's a very tight corner, but it's kind of fun in these cars. Makes me nervous in the pre-2019 open wheel cars like the older Ferrari 412 or the T2 or Lotus 125, McLaren MP4X, McLaren MP44 for that matter. Those cars, boy, a lot harder to handle some of these corners. By the way, we're getting closer. To you guys that don't have the McLaren MP44, once you finish all 9 Grand Prix, you get it. The rest of us get a little boost in currency. And if you're wondering which one you're going to get, you can just look at your opening Grand Prix screen. It'll tell you exactly what you're going to get, whether it's the car or the currency. Now, we always get an event like this, and I always say, oh, you should go up and get tailgate or draft off someone who's further up, a faster car, and then the race just ends. So this time around I got a little bit smart. Hey, it took me a while. I'm just gonna draft off the first guy, and he's annoying because he's gonna be slow, so I've got to anticipate when he's gonna brake, because if I hit him very much, I'm gonna get damaged, but also it's just gonna be less time I'm able to draft. So I'm gonna try to stay hooked up in a proper draft as much as possible and just see how quickly does this stage end. You've heard me mention it before, the drafting counter is wrong. So those are not actual meters. It says 6,000 meters, or if you're in yards, it says something else. But that is nowhere near actual meters. You get 2.5 meters for every meter you travel, or it's counting in Roman cubits. Yes, that's right, the ancient Roman cubit. It's a unit of measurement from a long time ago. Somehow it lines up with what they're using. No one really knows why, but it's a funny little thing. Chariot racing and Formula 1. They go hand in hand, don't they? Well, maybe not. Okay, well there we go. I keep building up my driver. Now let's see what we're facing for the next race. Looking good. Okay, so we're doing these late pit strategies, which means both tire degradation and fuel. So I'm not sure how difficult this is going to be. I'm going to take it quite easy. Best thing to do in a fuel stage, don't go off track. When you are off track, you use a lot more fuel. Well, if you're on the gas, which in this car you need to be because these cars slow down so fast when you get off the gas. So if you know your proper braking points, get off the gas early and coast. See, I'm not touching the brake pedal there. I might touch the brake pedal here a little bit. Let's just see if I need to. Yeah, a little tap. I didn't want to go off track. For this corner, I can just lift early and coast for a little bit. Next corner is a full throttle section. Oh, I was a little bit off track there. That's not good. And then I'm going to treat the next section like a normal braking point. Just do full brakes. Not really worry about it there. So I'll save a lot of fuel in other sections and then spend a little bit here. Really not a difficult stage, honestly. Unless you're not used to, they're probably forcing you to use a different control setting. Like if you usually run tilt A, it's probably going to make you run tilt B. Well, it's going to have to. Usually it does now. Now, you saw that I just heavily cut that last chicane. You can do that in stages like this. Average speed, time, gas. You can just cut there. I could have also just coasted through it. But then also I'm going to lose momentum. I did not mean to tag him. I expected him to go more to the left, so I could have gone under him. That's not good. But, you know, I really don't anticipate this to be very hard. So we'll just see. I'm going to take it easy for this lap. And then I'm going to take a look at how much fuel I have left and decide if I can drive aggressive for the last lap. Because I would like to finish higher in the field if I can. Again, I mentioned this in stage 1. I'm not doing any bot slowing. I'm not doing any bot management. I'm going to be driving fast. Fast, fast, fast. And let's just see how hard this gets. And if that ends up really hurting me, well, I guess I'll just have to buckle down and learn how to drive better or spend currency. And I'd rather learn how to drive better. And you can see that definitely would have been off track. So I overcut that. And it looks like I'm going to have a lot of fuel, so let's push this last lap and just see if I can use it all up. Driving this a little bit deeper, so now I've preloaded the brakes. Some of you guys might not be familiar with that. So you'll notice sometimes that accelerator and brakes are on at the exact same time. If I have accelerator on first and then add brakes, the accelerator overrides the brakes. The millisecond I let go of the gas, I'm on the brakes. So that's how you get really precise braking points. I used to lift off the gas and then apply the brakes, but it's really hard to get a precise braking point. Oh boy, I really blew that one. And I was on the throttle the whole time. Genius move, ME7. Okay. So anyways, I like to preload the brakes. The opposite is also true. If you have brakes on first and then apply the gas, then the brakes would override the gas. So, but I never preload the gas, because sometimes I'm coasting a little bit, sometimes I'm feathering the throttle as I'm getting back to it. And so, yeah, preloading the brakes is how you get really exact braking points. Lots of guys use that. And that's actually why some guys like tilt A, because when you press those brakes, they're instantly on. I used to use tilt A. That's all I used to use. But now, pretty well all I use is tilt B, because it gives me such wonderful skid control. I just get off the throttle, steer into my skid, get out of it, whereas at other times tilt A would force me into the wall, force me way off track. So if you've got your points really dialed, tilt A can certainly be handy. Some really good drivers use tilt A. Some guys that are better than me use tilt A. There's definitely nothing wrong with it. It just depends on the circumstance from my point of view. Okay, so already way into the average speed, like just absolutely not a problem. Again, though, I am, well, at this point I'm not that much higher than PR, but I still have higher PR than what is required. But the downside of this particular car is the top speed, which a lot of you guys have found out when you're at that lovely Yas Marina Speed Snap. It's got the worst top speed of any Formula 1 car. So look at this. Here's a fun little trick if you want to build up more average speed. You can drive down that section if you want to, and avoid having to brake so much for that super sharp corner. Neat little trick some of you guys might not know. Some of you guys know it. And you can cut this. I'm just showing you what you could do if you're having trouble. So yes, although the Mercedes is capable of the best lap times, it has the worst top speed. So the only reason why it has such amazing lap times is because of all the other specs. It's got amazing acceleration, amazing grip, and amazing brakes, and so it gives up the top speed because all of these cars they're somewhat balanced, right? So that's what happens with the Mercedes, and that's why it's good to have a couple of cars that are maxed out. Although you'll find for most tracks, this Mercedes is capable of the best time trials or really close. If you watch time trial tournaments in this game, you're generally going to find 3 cars at the top, and that is the McLaren, the Mercedes, and the Red Bull. And once in a while, you'll see a different car, and that, again, because driver ability always comes into play. The Ferrari's also up there with one of the top 4 cars. Oops! I'm just getting... See, I'm pushing it because I really need to get ready for what could be coming next. So I'm just pushing the boundaries a little bit, seeing, what's there. There's a great example of what can happen when you take a cut. You can end up losing traction and losing the benefit of the cut. So that's why I say it's not necessarily a bad idea to learn all of the tricks. Like in an actual Formula 1 race, if they said, hey, it's okay if you want to cut that, everyone would do it because everyone would need the advantage. But it would raise some interesting problems because the curbs would be throwing guys in the air. I mean, some guys might not because you could get some pretty intense vehicle damage. If you pause the game at just the right time, these cars get pretty far off the ground sometimes. It's quite surprising. Again, I lost that corner because I was just pushing it. There, that time I didn't go off track at all. And here, full throttle's not an issue. I still have piles of average speed. Now, if you want to get really crazy, you can lawnmower this. By lawnmower, I mean go way across the grass. Oh, I lost my cut under him. Yes, well, get out of my way, buddy. You're really starting to frustrate my average speed. So I might just royally cut this last chicane. Oh, that's just wonderful. Okay, well, that's what can go wrong sometimes. I still have way more than enough average speed, but I'm not just showing you all my perfect attempts. I'm going to show you some of my mess-ups as well, because that's the reality of it. And there we go. Couldn't do too much better than that. Maybe I could have got 11th or something like that, but there we go. That's the end of stage 2. If you like this, please press like, please subscribe. Thank you for joining me. I will keep these videos pumping out. Talk to you soon.